say good morning to everybody and thank you all for coming out today for this important announcement. I'm Stacy Burrs and I'm chairman of the board of the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia, and I'm privileged to be joined today by a few individuals who, unlike me, probably don't need an introduction. But I'm joined today for this announcement by the mayor of our great city, the Honorable Dwight C. Jones. We're also joined today by the chairman of the board and CEO of Dominion Resources, Tom Farrell. And I'm joined by a good friend who's chairing the Capital Campaign Committee and one of the region's leading citizens, Dr. Monroe Harris, and you'll hear from each of them shortly. I'd also like to recognize any other city employees or city council members or school board members who are here today and thank them for their commitment and their support and their advice over the past couple of years as we've tried to put this project together. I should also recognize the folk from Dominion who are here, and there are a bunch of them, but they've been enormously helpful over the past month or so, including in helping set up this event. I especially want to acknowledge Bob Blue and Virginia Board, if they're both in the house. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the presence of our state senator, himself one of the historic figures in Richmond as the first African-American mayor of the city of Richmond. And frankly, although he says I'm too young to make this claim, he's one of my personal heroes as well, Senator Henry Marsh. Let me just move through some of this quickly so we can get to the good stuff. Should recognize the members of the Armory Project Steering Committee who are here today. And I'm going to start naming names, and that's probably a bad thing because there are a bunch of them who are here, but I see Charlie Bryan, I see Eva Hardy here, I see John King, I see others who I may be missing here. So if you're not, please make sure the group knows that you're a member of the steering committee with whom we had the first meeting when we were talking about this project, and we're trying to determine whether or not it was truly feasible after the feasibility study was done. Charlie Bryan was, I think, the first person we met with after that, and because he blessed it, we went forward. I'm sorry, T. Turner, I do not want to leave you out because that was a very important first conversation. Reverend Sylvester Turner from Hope in the Cities is here with us as well. And then finally, I want to recognize the truly hardworking board and staff of the Black History Museum. We've been on quite a journey since 2007, and we're not done yet. So let's talk for a second about why we're here today. Many of you are aware that the Black History Museum has been hard at work over the past few years recreating itself. Part of that recreation involves the acquisition and the adaptive reuse of that magnificent building standing over my right shoulder in the background, and it also has to do with the establishment of a brand new museum and central gathering place that would exist in the Armory. This jewel of a building has been through a tough several decades, but thanks to the work of people like Selden Richardson, who's, you would know is shy, but he doesn't like these kinds of public acknowledgments, but thanks to the work Selden put in particular over the course of a lot of years, and then previous city governments in making sure that that building continued to stand. And so this project will triple the amount of space the museum currently has for exhibitions and programs. It will also continue the revitalization of Jackson Ward, one of the most important historic neighborhoods in the country. It will provide another attraction for tourists visiting our city from near and far. It is a $13 million project. We can account for about $3.5 million of that amount even before the first corporate gift has been committed. And so if you haven't figured out what today's event is about, and I'm sure you have, it is to announce the lead corporate gift from one of Richmond's most generous corporate citizens. Before we do that, I thought it would be interesting to tease this out just a little bit more and introduce to you a very well-known Richmonder one who hasn't been around the city for quite some time, however. His impact on our city might be unparalleled. He had quite a varied career in banking, in the media, in entertainment, and in advocacy. So we appreciate him for any number of reasons, but in terms of today's event, we recognize him as the single person most responsible for our being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from 1895, that's the year 1895, I give you John Mitchell Jr.
I was born in Henrico County on July 11th, 1863. James Lyons, a noted lawyer in town, owned my parents, and I guess he owned me as well, though I don't remember anything about that. I went to school right here in Richmond, having attended the Richmond Normal High School, and forgive me for saying so, I graduated with honors. In 1884, I became the editor of the Richmond Planet at 21 years of age, which I am sure you know was the primary black newspaper in Richmond and the region at the time. I led the Planet for 45 years until my untimely death in 1929. I formed the Mechanics Savings Bank in 1901. You've seen my bank, haven't you? It's the 4-story white brick building that stands at the corner of 3rd and Clay Streets. I did many things in my life, but I have to tell you that my proudest moment has to be when I, with the help of others, of course, got the city to build that wonderful 1st Battalion, Virginia Volunteers Armory that you see standing right over there in all its grandeur. This was no small accomplishment, I can tell you. Don't forget, Richmond is the only city in this country, so far as we had been advised, which has provided so well for its colored citizen soldiery as to erect an armory building. After the city bought the land for the armory in 1884, Major J.B. Johnson and his company captains worked on the project, but without making further progress. In 1893, Major Johnson, Captain S.H. Disman, Lieutenant W. Isaac Johnson, and John Mitchell Jr., myself, worked indefatigably for 12 months to get the city to appropriate the $10,000 it took to build the armory. We secured conveyances and visited every alderman and councilman, and I acted as spokesman. This is how it happened. First, the Board of Aldermen passed a resolution authorizing $7,500, and the then mayor, Taylor Ellison, signed it. However, one alderman voted against it, Richard M. Taylor. When a second resolution came up a while later to fund an additional $2,500, Richard Taylor himself had become the mayor. So, as you might expect, he vetoed this supplementary resolution, but both city councils overrode his veto, and the armory was fully funded. Well, sort of. Unfortunately, the city did not approve proposals to fund a much-needed drill shed to be built at the rear of the armory. Too bad. Just listen to Mayor Richard Taylor's unfortunate explanation for why he vetoed the supplementary resolution. I deemed it unnecessary, unwise, and against public policy to maintain colored soldiers in this city, and the battalion is composed of colored soldiers. Unnecessary? Unwise? What public policy? The impudence of this man. Colonel Cutshaw, a tireless friend, and others, however, effectively countered the mayor's arguments. Cutshaw declared that the colored troops had demonstrated their efficiency upon more than one occasion. He spoke of the quick response when called to the penitentiary and to their soldierly bearing at Newport News. Now about that drill shed. Nearly all armories built across America had them. The city's gallant soldiers needed quiet, safe places in which to inspect and drill. But that's okay. Our boys not only drilled in that spacious yard at the back of the armory. I can still hear in my mind Major Johnson giving the command, "Battalion, prepare for inspection," in response to which the three companies would march from their respective company rooms right here in the armory to the spacious yard and dress the lines for inspection. And they also marched nearly everywhere in the city, from the armory to the Capitol grounds, over to First Baptist on 14th and Broad, and back again. Our proud boys displayed their devotion to country and our Commonwealth, and of course their soldiery skills. We all felt such pride seeing our brave men striving to be ready when community, state, and nation would call upon them to serve. The completion of the armory was a major event for all of Richmond's colored citizens. This is how it happened. On October 5th, 1895, the Committee on Grounds and Buildings met at the new armory to formally turn over this handsome structure to Major J.B. Johnson and his corps of officers. After inspecting the rooms, the party retired to the large porch on the second floor, which was on the back of the building, where the city turned over the keys of the building. While the keys were turned over on October 5th, the battalion officially took possession of the armory 11 days later on the 16th. In the 2 weeks that followed the takeover of the armory, the colored people of Richmond came together to celebrate that magnificent building. We had a grand event, a bazaar with a large assortment of goods and wares, refreshments in abundance. Male and female bicycles were raffled. Uniform Knights of Pythias drilled and marched. The 1st Battalion put on a grand concert. The public inspected the building. The female cadets of Richmond drilled. There was a reception for ministers and other dignitaries. There was a literary entertainment. The Manchester Revel Club, the Richmond Mandolin Club, and Miss Lizzie Wills performed. We had an auction with rewards for the highest sellers. The troops marched and drilled, and of course, money was raised to help with expenses. And this was not the last major celebration that was to be held at the armory. For a number of years, the armory became a central place for Emancipation Day, 4th of July, and other celebrations. I recall what I wrote in The Planet as I gazed upon that palatial building after the ceremony was completed. I wrote, on last Wednesday night, that the beautiful lighted armory could be seen, glowing in magnificent splendor. A few minutes past 8 o'clock, the tap of the drum told us that the battalion was about to enter. Finally, I will tell you that that structure was a handsome one, and the troops were very proud of it. Thanks are extended to that liberal white element that buried their prejudices and recognized the justness of the plea for substantial recognition. Please, please take good care of this very special building.
Mr. J. Ron Fleming, everybody, let's give him a round of applause. That was a wonderful reenactment. And it really gives us renewed focus as to why we're here this morning. After that fine speech, I think I need to sit down, but I'll try to trudge on here. I'm Monroe Harris. I am the chair of the Capital Campaign, and on behalf of the committee, I see some of my friends out here, B.K. Fulton, Ken Johnson, John King was mentioned. I'm going to add some names to the list. Bob Blues in the back of the room. We're happy that you all are being so supportive and helpful, and thank you very much for everything, including your checkbook. That is really, really needed. We're happy to be here today. Stacy Burris, all the members of the Black History Board and staff, thank you for all your hard work. All the beautiful vision that you all have created is on the verge of coming to fruition, and we are so proud to be here, so proud to be a part of this important project. To Mr. Farrell and all the people at Dominion Resources, thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, you are a true community leader, and we appreciate everything that you all do for this community. There's no question about that. Oh, did I say John King? Did I mention John? John, I don't want to leave you off the list. Absolutely. And finally, to our wonderful mayor, Dwight C. Jones. Mayor, again, you are creating a great Richmond. It's through your leadership, through your vision, and through your generosity that we are able to continue to make Richmond a better place. And so I am proud of you as our mayor and proud of you as being a friend of mine. And so it is my pleasure that I introduce our mayor, Dwight C. Jones.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is a wonderful day for the city of Richmond, a wonderful day for Jackson Ward, a wonderful day for the Black History Museum, and I'm delighted to be a part of it. We have this cherished asset that is standing behind me, and we are really excited about being able to preserve it. We have another cherished asset in the Black History Museum, and the marriage of the two seems to be a marriage kind of made in heaven. It's something that should happen, it's something that is natural to happen, and we certainly want to make sure that it gets done. When a vision for a project like this comes to people's minds, everybody wants to know, well, how do we get it done? People have been talking about this for a long, long time. Well, it takes people like the people who are under this tent today, people who are passionate, people who have a sense of history, people who want to preserve the legacy of those whose shoulders we stand upon. It takes people like you to get this done. It also takes the city and corporate support, philanthropy, to make sure that these things are not lost for generations that are to follow. And so I'm very happy to be a part of this, and the city is very happy to be a part of it. When Stacy and Monroe came and asked for my support, I almost immediately signed on. It didn't take but a minute for me to recognize that it was the right thing to do. This fits nicely into our vision for Jackson Ward. We have been critical in the Hippodrome project and getting that done at the beginning of my administration. Got that and done so I could have my first State of the City address there. And also, we're working with Kelvin Hansen on 2nd Street, making sure that that project completes the 2nd Street corridor. And also in the budget that I submitted to City Council, there is a public art set aside. And it's my hope that we'll be able to have some monuments in this city of monuments that reflect the history of African Americans in this city. And one of the monuments that I'd like to see first is a monument to Maggie Walker. And so we would like very much for you to talk to your council persons to make sure that that public art set aside remains in the budget. And now with the museum that is being announced today and the wonderful philanthropy of Dominion and Tom Farrell, we thank you so much for your support. We believe that Jackson Ward is moving on to become the great mecca of the past that shines now in the present. And so we're delighted to be a part of it, and we look forward to being able to walk into this beautiful building. We were talking about St. Peter Street and whether we'll be able to keep it open or keeping it closed. We'll have to figure that out a little bit later on. But whatever we can do to make this project a success, we want to do it. So thank you so much for letting me be here. I now have the wonderful privilege of introducing to you Tom Farrell from Dominion. Tom?
Morning, everyone. Good morning. Stacy, Monroe, and Mr. Mayor, thank you for those kind remarks. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. I come from a military family. I can't think of a better way to begin the celebration of Memorial Day weekend than standing in front of this incredible armory, a building with very special significance in Virginia's military and its architectural history, not to mention its wonderful legacy as a part of the social and cultural fabric of the Jackson Ward neighborhood. This building reliably served the needs of black militia soldiers, the only 19th century armory in America to do so. Unable to use the same facilities as white soldiers, this is where African American troops would come for a hot meal, a shower, and a place to relax while waiting for a new assignment or a train. As important as the armory was to these soldiers, they were not the only ones to benefit from its presence. The building also functioned as an important social hub in Jackson Ward and a symbol of progress in a city that needed it. It would be hard to imagine a more appropriate home for the Black History Museum as it prepares to relocate from East Clay Street. To help achieve this important goal, I'm very pleased to announce that the Dominion Foundation will contribute $500,000 to the museum's Bold Vision, Bright Future capital campaign. This donation will be used to support the museum's renovation and expansion and is a valuable historical repository and resource for the citizens of Richmond, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the United States. Education and historic preservation are closely linked, and they are major focus areas of Dominion's charitable giving programs. Dominion focuses its philanthropy on narrow areas, but education and historic preservation are two of them, and they're closely linked. So the Lee Street Armory and the Black History Museum provides our company with a very rare opportunity. Help preserve the past while creating an important center of learning for the community and for future generations. Dominion's roots reach deep into the history of Virginia, and active engagement in the community is an important part of our company's legacy. It's a legacy built on long-term relationships and partnerships, for example, such as the Moton Museum in Farmville, the Virginia Historical Society, and of course the Black History Museum, a partnership that goes back almost 4 decades. So it is with great pride and excitement that we offer this grant to the Black History Museum as a part of our commitment to education, historic preservation, and community vitality. We are proud to help restore this armory, expand the Black History Museum, and support the ongoing rebirth of this very, very important historical neighborhood, Jackson Ward. Together, all of us have an opportunity to showcase the unique and significant history of Richmond's African American community. With that in mind, I'm going to turn the program over to Maureen, the Executive Director of the museum.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell, Mayor Jones, Dr. Harris, Mr. Fleming. Thank you to all our speakers today. I have been the executive director of the Black History Museum since the fall of 2008. And true to form, I'll take a pause. I have to say that in what will soon be 5 years in that position, there have been many times that I've gotten chills. And today is one of those days when I've gotten chills. And it's not just because the temperature's dropped about 20 degrees from what it was yesterday. But I get chills because of the collaborative effort and spirit around important projects. And this is certainly one of them. I get chills when I think about the transformation of Jackson Ward, the creation of what we continue to call an historic campus. I get chills when I think about the work that has gone into getting us here today, but also what will go forward. I'm an historian, so I'm always looking backwards, but I'm also a director, so I'm always looking forward at the same time. And I see numerous individuals who have helped move us to this point and will continue to move us forward. I have to thank Dominion and Dominion Resources and Dominion Foundation for their support, for coming out as a lead philanthropist in this project. I have to, if you'll just indulge me for a moment, I have to thank Miss Virginia Board from the Dominion Foundation. She has been a friend to me professionally and personally, reached out to me when I became the director of the Black History Museum. So Virginia, I'd love to publicly thank you for your friendship, but also for your something of a mentorship also as well. Thank you.